Hello there, YouTube. This is my little mini pick hammer I made. So I'm going to do a modification. This is a valve out of a small Briggs & Stratton motor. I made a little pick hammer, piece of steel shaft. It's very easy to drill. Real shiny. It's almost like it has a chrome plating or something on it because it's laid around and it hasn't rusted. Whatever kind of steel it is. But we're going to modify it. This handle is too heavy, so we're going to chop it off and we're going to put a piece of this pipe over it. This thin wall tubing. If I can get it around here the right way. This thin wall, cheapy tubing. Actually off some old junky bunk bed. It's pretty cheap stuff. You try brazing, it'll melt. Anyway, back to this. If you're going to cut a piece of shaft or something off, I just take my tubing cutter. I've had this for a lot of years. I've resharpened this wheel. I actually have a spare one, but run that around there. Don't dig in too much and hurt your wheel. These wheels can't take that kind of abuse, but this has a spare wheel hit underneath here. Down in here. And I keep this screw real tight. I had to put a washer on here. Just like it never stayed tight. But I have no idea how old this is. Made by Eastman in Chicago, USA. Very nice tubing cutter. I've had this for a long time. I mean, this is very well built. Thought I'd include that in the video. I have sharpened this wheel. It's kind of tricky. I've taken my Dremel and gotten a diamond stone in there and actually spun this, almost milling it, spinning it with the grinder thing to put a little edge on here, but I never made it razor sharp because it'll just mash the edge over. But I have trued this wheel up. I do have a spare one on here. I don't know if I've switched it once or not, but thought I'd show that in there. Nice old tool. Another one of my favorites. This is way too heavy. All this weight in the handle, I want the weight out here. So I want the weight to be on the work. So we put a little mark, then we'll put masking tape around it, and also use a Sharpie marker. If your tape comes off for some reason, you'll still have a mark to go by. We're going to cut that off, stick it down in here, put some tape around it, do whatever we have to do. Because we want the head of this to be heavier. This is way too heavy. Nice little pick hammer. You could use a valve out of a car. You could also go to somewhere who works on tractor motors, semi-engines. You could get a big valve out of a diesel engine. You can make like your own little homemade body pick hammer. You're picking at metal, then you want to flatten it. This has been polished. I didn't make a video, it was way too long. But I have other videos where I showed how to use my emery stone, sanding drums. This is polished pretty good. You can see it's pretty polished. And this end, that'll show up in focus. That's not a sharp point. That's like a bullet nose. Because you don't want to put holes in what you're picking at. If I can bring it up here and see if the camera will focus on it. Okay, so it's rounded when you pick. Someday I'll be working on something and you'll see it in action. But don't want to make this video too long. I just want to show how I'm going to chop this off, put a handle on there. I'm going to use some epoxy inside the pipe I put in there because it's too big. I might even use that cheap clear epoxy I have. I might even put some masking tape around it to make it fit snugger in there. It's just going to glue it in there. It's not going to fly out what I use it for. Then I'll have another piece of metal for another handle on something. Something that has a lot heavier head. This would be great to use, still be long enough if I get a real big car valve. But off to the next step. Okay, here's the finished product. I've got about this much of that heavy steel handle about to here. Get back here. It's hard to fit this in here. I got about to where the tape is. That way the end's heavier than the handle. The handle follows. Put some masking tape on it. then a roll of black tape. And this doesn't have to be as big around as your hand, because when I pick, I hold my hand kind of like this on small stuff. I've been practicing on copper. I have a whole bunch of this. I probably have enough that's, if I flatten it out, it's like in a trough. It was some kind of thing that was folded up. I probably have 1.5 feet wide by 4 feet long of this, about 1 millimeter thick. When I pick, I don't hold my hand around like this like a regular farm. I just kind of have my finger, because you're just picking. You don't need a whole lot of weight. A little soft metal copper. You kind of get the idea. And this, say you pecked a lot of stuff, things like that, you put it over a round ball. Don't quote me, but I think it's like planishing hammer. I'm just learning this stuff. But this smooths out all them little dimples you made from the other side. You put this like over a round ball. So I'm going to practice starting out. I tried it years ago on make a copper bowl. If you heat this stuff up, and that's all it takes, all it'll take is one of these. If you heat this up, then let it cool down, it'll be softer, more malleable. And I have experimented by heating it and putting it in cold water. You think it'd make it brittle and hard. It made it a little bit harder again. But that's how I've learned it. You heat this up, plus it's old scrungy copper. So the stuff I'm making to make it look old. I may scrub some of the green corrosion off it that's been laying around. I'll show it in a video someday. It's a big hunk of copper sheeting that's been folded up into a U shape like a trough. It was just used for drainage trough or something. But I needed a pick hammer. And I have a small ball-peen hammer. I have 2 of those. But I think I like this better silver. It looks more like a piece of metal. It's just cheap aluminum paint. I plan on making one, I think I said earlier, out of a big valve, out of a diesel motor or something, just for the fun of it. Make a real big one. But just cheapy tubing that I'd had, cut off out here. I've still got some of that left, that other shaft I used, but that gives you the weight. You want your weight out here. You don't want your weight down here. You want your weight on the end where it hits. It's weighted pretty good. I know there's people that they balance tools. The balance point, which I don't know, of a tool, like a hammer. It almost balances right there. So, maybe a little more. But it is heavier on this end. That's what you want. So, that's that. Lighting isn't as great in here today. Kind of in and out of being cloudy outside. Silver don't show up very well. Thanks for watching. Here's this big piece of copper I have to work with. I'm sure I'll scrub the corrosion off the stuff down in here, but there's a few holes on the edges. I can make a lot of stuff out of this. It's about 6 feet long, at least 8 inches up. I said that'd be about 1.5 feet across if you unfolded it. Gave $2 for it, for a guy that junks out stuff. I've had it laying around for several years. Just wonder nobody stole it out of my junk pile out back. What copper prices are. But a lot of copper there. Weight to it. So, a lot of projects. That can get me through a whole winter making stuff out of copper. Plan on making some little art stuff, little projects. First project's going to make a little copper bowl. I actually have one for a pattern if I ever find it. It had little legs soldered on it. But enough of that. Thanks for watching.